here. Old peeps.
Happy Diwali.
Oh, happy Diwali. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Sal Mubarak. Yeah. It's like a happy new year for us. Still, are you, are you recording? What are we doing?
Yeah, I'm recording. Just want everyone to be aware it could become or it could turn into a bit of a noisy scenario this time because you can see I'm in a noisy background. But I will try my best and maybe I can also do some post-production to get this like cleaner.
No, I think you're very clear. Don't worry.
Yeah?
Your voice is very clear.
Just 1 second. Sana, I saw the recording because the last session I really couldn't attend properly. I was in the car and so many things. And in the recording, your voice is. I tried to listen to the previous session's recording.
Yeah.
And your voice is completely muted.
Yeah, that does happen. When you record, sometimes your voice doesn't come as clear, Stella. Like it's slightly
I could clean that up though.
In the recording, it's completely muted.
Yeah.
It's completely muted or just partially?
Almost.
Always?
95%.
You cannot hear me at all in the recordings?
Almost. 95%. 98% maybe.
Oh, that's good to know because no one ever told me. Okay, so
no, it's slightly muffled. I have not heard the last times, but generally it's slightly muffled. Yeah.
Oh, okay, guys, you should have told me. Like I was too lazy to run this through post, but I can run this through post and then I should come out clear.
Wait, how would you do that?
You can adjust audio levels on 3 different parameters. In a video editing software, but I was too lazy to do that because it just takes time.
Oh, that's interesting.
But I was going to do that for YouTube, so I can do that. Okay.
Time consuming to adjust the audio.
Yeah, because I wanted to give a more detailed feedback on AML because I think we've got a long way to go as far as AMMs are concerned.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll find time and once you've cleaned it up, you can tell me because I think there's a lot of questions to be answered.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
that'll be great.
Should be better.
Yeah. See, the idea is like this. If it's for passing the examination, we probably don't need to do it. But if you're serious about this particular area, then I think it's important.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But I'm sure like the other modules are going in depth with the math and stuff also. So I think we'll get more clarity and we'll have better conversations too, I think, over the next module.
Okay, can I start?
Yeah.
Can I start
with
the agenda?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Guys, welcome. Agenda, session number 7. We're already on 7. Can you believe that? I can. Okay. So today it's a little bit of a different structure, I guess. We're trying to go more into like an interactive idea of holding this session, because now it's time to not only learn but also to apply whatever we've learned in token engineering, right? At least that's what we think, and that's also what the academy thinks. So we're like slowly going that road. And so today, if there are any I think there are no newcomers. I think we can scratch that. We're going to go through the token engineering process, the 7 different steps. I think we should keep it smaller than 25 minutes, but also Roro has some cool examples from Machinations and CatCat we should probably take a look at. Also, I asked Strata to run us through an idea of his applying those 7 steps, right? Just so that we have a kind of an applied framework on how this could look like potentially. And then the bigger part of this today should be us discussing what do we do or what do we want to run as a group project, right? Because all of you have been joining the session in a very frequent basis, and we figured that it would be really nice to hear all of us out, essentially, all of us that have a proposal on a group project that we could do, right? And then essentially vote on one. So we could really, directly from learning these theoretical ideas to implementing them and running through these how can I call it, through those templates that they're giving us, and immediately start applying what we've learned to an actual project. I will talk more about the framework of the project that I think this should be, and and we can start running the session now. Let's go, Rohan. Can I take the first slide though?
Oh yeah, sure. And Lutra says that's a cool idea on chat.
Oh, thank you, Lutra. Thank you.
Oh, so no introductions, right? We all know each other, yeah?
No, I think we all know each other by now.
Yeah.
Okay. So first step of the 7-step system is defining system goals. All of this is probably not new to you. I'm sure all of you have gone through the text multiple times. First one is to actually, the first one is, I would say, defining the objective function, no? That was actually the first one. I'm not sure why we left this out here.
Yeah, design. I think design objective was the first one, and then sure.
Yeah, the first one, and then you split it down into system goals, and those goals can be technical goals or they can be economical goals, right? In a more general perspective, and I thought this was like really nicely broken down into like general perspective, then the token engineer perspective, and then the AMM system goal perspective. So the second stage would be the token engineer system goals, understanding the stakeholders and their perspectives or their desires, like where they're coming from, what do they want, what's their need, understanding the system and being able to communicate it clearly. I think this is one of the hardest, thinking about the idea of holding an elevator pitch. It seems so simple, but it means you need to fully have grasped your own ideas and put them into words. So I think it's one of the most difficult parts to do. Understanding the market landscape, essentially doing benchmarking. This is how I would phrase it. And the third step is applying this to an AMM, right? And here we have one goal that gets added, which is the agent goals. And this is something that we explored further down the road a little bit more.
Okay. Oh, Patty is here. Hi, Patty.
Oh, Patty!
Hello. Hi.
Hey, what's up?
Can we do an introduction for her?
Oh yeah, please introduce yourself.
Okay, you have to follow the steps here.
Okay. Sorry, I'm late for your study group. So good to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm Patty. I work with the T Academy. I have been helping organize this amazing contribution by so many great community members like Roro and Stella. Roro, I have your t-shirt for T Fundamentals. I'm going to ship it over to you. We just had the launch at DevCon and super amazing. And yeah, I'm with the T Academy and I really want to learn tech engineering like everyone. Just because I'm with the Academy doesn't mean that I know everything. So I'm here also to learn. And yes, this is something great about myself.
We all need to get a picture here. Because I want to see Patty in our group picture. So, can you take this?
So, yeah. Everyone is going to open their cameras as well.
Does everyone want to switch on their cameras? We actually usually do the introduction slide, but nobody knew was here, so.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet everyone.
Lutra, Kojak.
Should I take the picture?
Starter. Let's go.
Yeah? Should I take it?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, smile, guys.
I can't. Stella, you're muted.
Oh, smile? Are you good?
Okay. Stella, you're muted. I don't know if you took it already. I wasn't smiling, but it's okay.
No, you smiled actually. You mostly smiled. I took it already.
Okay, nice.
Nice one. Thank you.
All right. Okay, sorry for the interruption, but we had to do this.
Thank you.
Okay, Stella, you want to take this?
We're done.
You're muted again.
Oh, I figured I turned myself off. Sorry. I figured like we went through this, or you want me to do this again?
Oh no. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
We move to the next one.
Go to the next one.
Okay, so with the with the system goals, after we've designed, like, so the steps go from, let me just go through them. Like, the 7 steps that we had was defining the system goals, defining system requirements, then stakeholder definition and analysis, defining interactions and value transfers, metric definition and analysis, causal relationships, and identification of stocks and flows. So these were the 7 steps we had to go through. This is the second one that we go. So after we define the objective function, make it more structured with goals, we reach the section where we define the system requirements. And system requirements were kind of broken down into like states, eligible actions, mechanisms, and parameters. And what I really found fascinating here were a couple of statements that were written there. Some of them were like these requirements that the requirements are the requirements that we are imposing on the system. So the examples that were given were traders can only swap tokens that they own. The price of assets should change in response to the trades. Liquidity insertion or removal should not change prices. And all of these requirements are there. We derive them. In order to derive them, we need precise statements of what functionality the system needs and what properties are required for these functions. So when these are well defined, we can build requirements more robustly. And a very interesting point I think I found in this section at least was that they had defined properties and like variable properties and invariant properties, which becomes very relevant for us, especially in AMMs, where we are discussing invariant, like constant product rules. So we define an invariant that shouldn't change. And that becomes like the goal of the system in some sense, to keep one property constant, and then everything changes around it in order to keep it constant. That's an interesting way to define a system. Another very interesting example that they've given, I might be able to get this here. Yeah. I hope you can still see my screen. Is this, oh, it's not visible?
Yeah.
It's not visible. One second.
All good.
No, I wanted to share my screen. One second. Just give me 1 second. Okay, never mind. I'll figure it out later.
Rohan,
But basically,
I think right now you're just sharing one application.
yeah, no, that's right. I need to figure out how to change that. Give me 1 second.
Yeah. So if you unshare and then you go to the second tab where it says share.
I think this should work.
Oh, that's perfect. Okay. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So one of the links that they'd given here as an invariant property was there was a link to a Q&A kind of section where they pointed out that there's a negative correlation between heart rate and lifespan of species.
Yeah.
And you can actually map the heart rate versus the lifespan of different animals, and you see almost like a constant line that you can run through, except humans. Clearly something's wrong with us, but so that could be defined as once you study the system, this is the property you want, you can define this as an invariant function, which is very fascinating to me. Oops. Okay, let me do this again. Yeah. Those are my notes, by the way. Now you know how what I read when I'm sharing my screen. Okay, next one. Do you want to take this or do I take this?
I can take this one. Also, like the building blocks that I chose as a graphic, going with this. Because I feel like stakeholders are like little building blocks, because they are, in the end, they will be responsible for keeping your system running. So it's super important to define them well and to do a thorough analysis of who they are, I guess. So anyhow, in the lecture, we see again like a very similar structure to the first one. First is identifying stakeholders. Who are we designing this for? Is essentially a little bit like product design, so it feels very similar. Who are we designing this for, and what do they desire, right? What is their motivation, essentially, which we get to in a bit. Then anticipate the participants' behavior. Rohan and I had a bit of a discussion about this, because I find this Thank you, Patti. Because I find it very hard to anticipate human behavior. But of course, there are patterns, and I guess we need to look for the patterns in behavior and how to incentivize those patterns if we want them to, to make them more, or if we want them to show up less, then disincentivize those. System evolution resulting from the aggregated actions of individual agents, which in my opinion just means like if you incentivize them correctly, then they will keep your system alive, right? If you don't, then they will not keep your system alive. Stakeholders for AMMs, as thank God, it's not that wild, right? It's like there are like specific building blocks. So you have the builders or DAO members or OG founders that usually take a stake in whatever kind of AMM system they've been building. You have the users, which are divided into traders and usually liquidity providers. You have competitors, and you have governments of various nations, right? You need to factor them in, especially when it comes to regulating protocols or DeFi protocols, for example. Key partners, and that was a really nice example that I didn't get right in the beginning, but thanks to Rohan, I eventually got it, which is the Ethereum Foundation is, for example, a really great partner for Uniswap, right? Because they've been building on Ethereum pretty early on. They've seen, I guess, also a lot of support and inside knowledge from them. So that's super helpful. If you can identify those key partners early on, I believe it will give you an easier time building your AMM. And profiling the ecosystem roles. Yeah, I guess this goes all back to, for anticipating behavioral patterns as well. And this goes for agent versus roles. So there is a distinction to those two. And actions, goals, and incentives, as well as disincentives, is what I mentioned before. So if you want to see more of a specific behavior, then find ways to incentivize. If you want to see less of a certain behavior, then find ways to disincentivize.
Yeah. No, I mean, even the argument that we had on the third point, which was system evolution resulting from aggregated actions of individual agents, I think it was a very fundamental argument that we had, which was that I really do think personally, and I would love people's opinions on it, that I think the role of a token engineer, in some sense, is to understand, because when we build a system, the way we studied micro, meso, macro level properties, it's like we want certain macro level properties that we are looking for, like fairness in the system. We want whatever the goals are, they are actually macro level properties. And on the micro level is where people are making decisions, and it's very hard to control that. But we need to understand how to incentivize the micro level incentives such that the macro level outcomes are the outcomes that we want, if that makes sense. I thought that was the fundamental role of a token engineer at the end of the day. The difficulty is the micro meso gap. Yeah.
Rohan, I've got a point to make. Actually, it's not the levels. It's actually the macro perspective. It can be a micro objective, but in terms of our design, it's a macro objective for the second. But the objective may be at the micro level, but or goal or whatever may be. If you look at economic levels, it may be at the micro level. But in terms of designing, in terms of perspective, this is a macro perspective for the second. So it is not, everything is macro. No, it is not that. It's a macro perspective.
No, okay.
There's a difference between. So what we are trying to what we are trying to achieve may be at in terms of economics at the micro level. Say at the firm level. A firm is normally at the micro level. So this thing. You get the point.
No, I hear you. Not all objectives are on the macro level. You're right about that. Yeah.
Yeah. But, the perspective can be. The perspective is also macro overall, in that sense.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. And Ratio, I think, did you unmute too? Someone had.
that was Strata Trader.
Strata.
Yeah, sorry, that was me. I don't want to take too much time, but Rohan, you brought up a great point, and I just wanted to. I've been thinking a lot about this. I've been in some stakeholder meetings the past week, and something that really resonated with me in what you said, as well as what I read a few weeks ago on this module 2, is that if I was just to sum up our role throughout the entire life cycle of as a token engineer, I would say that, when system objectives are set, things are tested and weighed. And the work of token engineers is, how I see it, is to examine and uphold the standards. But when the work of a truly great engineers, from what I've seen and what I'm seeing, is that it's those engineers who use those standards when they truly know them and understand them. So it's about like setting a standard, holding fast to it. That's how I see it.
Right, I hear you. Thank you for all your points. Another really another point out here that really stood out to me, was the major differences between agents versus roles, was something that really stood out, which is that an agent can play various roles in a system, but conversely, many different types of agents may be capable of fulfilling the same role. So, okay, I'm not being able to capture the difference right now, but yeah, okay, this was something that was important. So please do read it again. I forgot the differences, but I think it was like with roles, you define what actions and goals and incentives they have. Was it? Okay, I lost my chain of thought.
That's a good question, Roland. About this, I got hung up on this particular topic on the exam because I was like, so it said that agents can have multiple roles, but roles can be only filled by a limited number of agents.
Yeah.
Right?
Huh.
That's what it said in the sort of literature. And
Yes.
so when I remember when I was going through the test, I was kind of like, it was saying there wasn't that exact answer, but we were saying, agents can have multiple roles and roles can only be attributed to one agent. So that's where I got hung up, and I was just wondering if anybody else had any clarity that they could offer me here, because
Yes.
I was confused.
No.
Oh, I let Kojak go. Go for it.
Yeah. Actually, I mean, agents can take about multiple roles, but
What was the example of a role? For example, is liquidity provider a role? Yeah. Still a role.
liquidity provision is the role. But anybody can be a liquidity provider. Anybody can be a liquidity provider. So, agents can take up on. The same role can be taken up on by
Anyone. Yeah.
by many persons.
Yeah. Got it.
You know how everyone could be a parent, theoretically, at some point, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think this is maybe a semi-good metaphor, but maybe it works. So everyone could be a parent, right? But someone who is a parent could be an office worker, could be someone who regular works out at a fitness studio, could be dancing to karaoke music, There's like so much more, but the role of a parent is like one thing, right? And that is like something that maybe a lot of people could do. But like, the other way around, right? A parent is just a parent, but like the parent could, do like a lot of different things, fitting into a lot of different roles additionally to that. So I think that could be a good metaphor, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if this was helpful.
No, so in our AMM situation, it would be like a liquidity provider can also be a trader. They can also trade at the same time. But the role is liquidity providing. The other role is trading. The other role, like that, fixed roles which have fixed attributes and properties.
Yeah,
That
makes like the AMM design in quotation marks a little bit easier than maybe, for example, I know a lot of you are like me and they want to try and build a social system, right? That is maybe using an AMM at some point, but it's more like the AMM is like the running motor to keep this going, but there's like so much more to it. So I guess defining that much more is so much harder. And the AMM is breaking it down to the smallest possible entity in an ecosystem design like that. That is why it's potentially easier which I don't think it's easy. And also Strata, just so you know, I will probably read this session like 3 more times to fully grasp it. Just so you know. It's all good.
Yeah, I think a lot of us.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually I agree with Strata's trader on this, in that I don't think there's any debate about, we can sort of swap our roles and agents. I mean, we can be multiple, we can have multiple roles. But I think his question, which I second, is that the answers are very confusing. It wasn't clear. It wasn't straightforward to answer that question.
Right. I haven't given the exam yet, so I have no say. Yeah.
Yeah, me neither. I also, just so you guys are aware, right? We're really taking time to getting like the practical application running for next week. So you will essentially have 1 more week to go over this again. Same as me, and probably same as Rohan and everyone else.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let's take a breather.
Yeah. Sarah, you can take this. Interactions and value flows.
Oh yeah, I really liked this one actually. Also, it had a lot of like helping templates. I love templates. We should design our own templates after we've done this. Okay, so interactions and value transfer is the 4th step in designing hopefully a tokenized ecosystem, I guess. Step 1 is how do members interact and transfer value to each other. So now that we know who the stakeholders are, the question is, and what kind of relation are they to each other, right? Could they potentially hinder each other in the system if we design it wrong? Could they benefit from each other if we're doing it right? So, for example, I think there was the example of arbitrageurs, right? Arbitrageurs. I never know how to pronounce this word. It's a horrible.
No, you're doing well.
So these
That's perfect.
A guys, who keep the system stable.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a good example. He made like a tiny. Sorry, this is just for your, so you can laugh about something. I'm such a digital person, but then I do this kind of stuff. So the arbitrageurs, for example, right? The liquidity providers, they love arbitrageurs apparently because they can earn fees from them, right? They earn fees with the arbitrageurs through the trades, but then also the arbitrageurs, essentially the whole ecosystem benefits from them because they make they keep
The
trades,
prices equal. Yeah.
safe in a sense, stable, safe.
Yeah.
So I thought it was really interesting because I never thought, I knew they existed because we learned
Yeah.
about them early on, but I never saw them in that kind of role, essentially, or interaction role, I should say. So anyhow, as you can see, I linked on this slide just by itself, I linked the ecosystem motivation matrix. So if you click on that, you should be forwarded to the according.
Why is it not? Maybe it's not clickable on my. Oh yeah, it is.
It should be.
Yeah.
Don't be like this, Rohan.
Oopsie.
That's
Yeah.
just messing with you. And now, where are we? Now, where are we? Go back to my slide. Okay.
Wait, let me go.
And
Yeah.
the second one that I even found more interesting because I hadn't really heard about this was a mapping workshop to understand agents and their motivations. And honestly, like I'm not sure how this is like. I'm curious of how each of us is going to apply this because I feel we will get a lot of different results. But nonetheless, the idea is to formulate a system of value exchange and how does everyone benefit from the system? So again, in interaction or relation to each other, look for the sources of growth and revenue and analyze those. So where they're coming from, how could you potentially generate more of them, or which ones are the ones that you haven't even thought of? I see this quite a lot that people get surprised once they've come a certain length of the way and they're like, oh wait, there's another revenue stream that we could potentially activate. So I've seen this now twice and I'm like, oh, so maybe there's like an Easter egg to discover. Iterate the initial prototype design of the system and find its unique core. I thought it was beautifully phrased. I don't really understand the meaning of it, to be fairly honest with you guys. So if you have any comment on that. I'm happy to listen to it. And the third step is design an incentive structure. So this is what we brought up earlier, incentive structure. And I thought, again, this was very well phrased. This is why I took it straight from the text. Is as a understanding as a gravitational force that keeps the actions of agents in the system predictable and makes it therefore stable, right? And doesn't just like one time like use a gradient and slide off the edge. And then the token utility canvas also thought, hey, cool template, but I'm not like quite sure on how to apply it. So I'm kind of curious to get immediate feedback if you guys had an idea what it means to define a unique core. There was one question I had. Did you guys, like have a thought about this? And then also about the templates, especially the token utility canvas. Did you feel like me and I like, oh, well, nice template. I don't really understand yet how to use it. So, yeah.
I think this one was the grid, right? If I don't remember. Yeah, it was the grid image. Yeah. Who helped who? How? I think that's how it works. Yeah. Yeah, I have to go through this properly.
Yeah. See, same. Okay, we're on the same page. I think we need this one more week to really.
I think more than anything, this is. I mean, if you've ever done a strategy role, or like if you know someone who's doing a strategy role in startups and stuff, they pretty much use things like this. These like Miro is like the website is filled with examples and templates for stuff like this, where you basically build a user persona. You understand why they're doing what they're doing, what is their motivation. Then you build how everybody in the system is going to help each other. Like I think they just templatized for us in 7 steps what any strategy position actually does. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Rohan, it makes a lot of sense. May I offer just my thoughts around this?
Yeah.
So Stella, I didn't get a chance to go through exactly what you wanted, but maybe am I allowed to like sort of share a little bit of what I was thinking about talking about, because it's aligned to what your question was, Stella? Yeah. Is there time now for me to? Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Yes, please.
What I was going to say is that just to kind of summarize the previous point I had made, right, and then I'm going to get to Stella's question there. So when system objectives are set, that's when we test things and we weigh things. And as token engineers, we need to examine and uphold standards. But the work of these great engineers is using standards when they truly know them. So it's about setting standards and asking, is this consistent with the objective of the system? And when I was reflecting on a lot of what we were reading, I was thinking to myself, like, if each system has a design objective like that raison d'être, right? It's really important that we understand that core objective or that overall objective. And that's, Stella, I think that's when they're referring to iterate the initial prototype design system to find its core. So what we do is that we go through a set of steps, right? Whether they're 1 to 7 or 1 to 10, it's going to be all unique to your environment. Like from a robotics perspective, I've been actually taking inspiration from work that I do there into token engineering. And what I realized is that it's about when you have initially identified, right? What is that sort of base system or base objective that you're working from? It's very important to constantly revisit that with your stakeholders and ask them follow-up questions. So I will share a personal story with everyone. I'll anonymize it due to confidentiality, but last week I was in a stakeholder meeting, and it's around how do we leverage data and ensuring that we have appropriate data, and how is that data consumed downstream. And we had a lot of people in a boardroom, and out of the army of people meeting with stakeholders there, they were very quick to sort of show their roadmap of what they thought versus actively listening. So these tools are fantastic tools. The one thing I would just like to sort of share is the fact that it's very important to not just get hung up on the tools, right? Because nerves get into it. When you're meeting with stakeholders, your nerves are going to be active. You're going to start sweating, things are going to happen. But the most important thing, the most important skill set out of this is actively listening. And I think that goes directly to the comment of iterate the initial prototype design to find its core. Because when you identify something, it's your representation of what you thought and what you think the stakeholder really wants. But it's very important to go back and ask, why do you think it should be like this? Or I don't know but does anybody remember 5 whys back in school? I don't know if anybody has a Lean Six Sigma background, but back in process engineering days, we used to have this thing. We say, let's ask why 5 times, because it helps you distill any sort of problem or any sort of issue you're facing down to its basic core. So the last thing I would just sort of share and articulate is that when we go through this entire journey of understanding interactions and value transfers, right? I don't know if Stella, you had asked or somebody had asked earlier, is that how are we going to do this in real life practice, right? Well, the way I've seen it is that, and this is going to seem a little bit more abstract, but I think the roadmap for token engineering success, it starts with building the trust. So tools are very important, but when you're going to be able to get the information, it's about our ability to deliver on the promise of a system objective with economic and technical stability. And so when we're looking at building these token economies, it's about a transformation of economic incentives. And so the way I was reflecting on it, I think it's like there's 4 points that if we were to keep the back of our minds, and maybe this is a little bit more advanced because I've gone ahead, but the 4 areas that resonated with me when you're trying to understand the core of any prototype design, it's about understanding, what does stability look like? How are you going to maintain stability? Because, in robotics, we can say, well, we want a 95% success rate of our bots, but is that really feasible in an economic incentive system? The other thing is, from a stability perspective, in the prototype design, and this is like I'm going maybe a little too far. I'm just trying to bring points that we need to think about when we are going through these various iterations. And I'll just really touch upon the other 3 real quick. I don't want to elaborate on them because time is precious. The other area was capability that I thought was very important. So what is the capability that we're unlocking through this economic incentive system or this token, this prototype, as well as what are the technical and economic recovery mechanisms? Because that's what we're trying to pull out of this design, economic value, right? And you're trying to use technology while we're doing it. And the 4th one would be
what's the recovery mechanism?
The way I look at recovery mechanism is that whenever you have an economic incentive system, right, Rohan, it's almost as though you have inputs, right? But you want to have outputs. So what is the way I look at it is, what is your economic recovery system? How are you going to realize economic value? So I just call it as economic recovery. So how are you going to realize on that value? We go thinking like we understand all participants around the table, but we may not have those incentives, right? So approaching it from an economic recovery perspective, I find anchored me in a little bit of core finance, like that sort of practice, right? And then the last point was just agility, making sure that, the design it has some level of agility, because we don't want things too rigid. I spoke a lot. I'm sorry for taking more time than what I thought I was going to take, but that's what I was thinking. I don't know if it made any sense or it kind of helps people. It helped me sort of when I was reflecting. Thank you.
No, this is great. And also, we gave you the time. Like, this is officially your time.
Yeah, this is our time. This is not, this is our time, so we can do with it whatever we want. I think this was really great, and for me, at least, super helpful. I also made, a ton of more notes. Thank you.
Yeah, me too. I made some points there.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, we'll try to rush through the next 3 slides. I think for the last 2, I have some demonstration of how I used it while I was learning. So the 5th one was metrics, definition, and analysis. And for this also, I have I actually went for a coaching. Like, it was like some kind of like a startup something, I don't know, whatever. But they were teaching us basically certain things that one of the major things that we need is a metric that's something you can track. if you don't have that, you kind of lose your sense of where you are in the system. So metrics like that are trackable are extremely important. A key tools of tracking and how well the system is meeting its goals. Just one sec. And yeah, some metrics for AMMs are capital efficiency, return on investment, impermanent loss, slippage, trading volume. If Stella, you have something to say here, you can add. I want to rush to the other parts, which I found interesting.
No, all good. You can move on. I just saw my typo in there. I will obviously correct that before uploading. Sorry, guys.
Okay. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to. Okay. So basically, I wanted to show how I was. So I actually was going through the course cadcat.edu. I finished all of these. They are, by the way, free. Give me a second. Where's my screen? Is my video on? No, right?
No, your video turned off, but your screen is on. So
okay,
I guess we don't need to see you.
Okay.
just kidding.
Okay, so cadcat.edu was it's a really nice platform for learning cadcat, which is a tool through which we can, in some sense, actually design these token systems. Any nonlinear system in general can be designed here. And if you know Python, this is like an amazing resource, I felt, at least. Because any kind of system design that I used to do earlier, or any kind of prototyping I would do, it was so hard before I had this tool. So all of these courses are free. They say $199, but pretty much you can just you can put up one of the links that they have here, and you'll get the course for free. If you just type Balancer or any of these brand names, you get it for free. Anyway, but the point is that I actually used that to design my. So I'll show you here. Machinations. Yeah. Okay. So if you all can see my screen, this is Machinations, and Machinations is a tool through which we can actually. Again, same, do system design in some sense. So I thought of this was cadcat.edu was doing it on Python. I was on the side doing it on Machinations too. We're actually just trying to design a system where there's a population of animals. So this is our 100. If you can see the numbers, this is 100 like animals that are there, and there's food, let's say grass. And I want to see what happens to a system where animals keep on eating the grass that's there, and keep on growing in the population size, and the size of the grass keeps on decreasing because it's getting eaten. So I can model it into like these equations where the previous population plus some constant times food will be the next times problem. So population adds by this ratio called alpha, and you can actually design it on Machinations and see it work. So you can actually visually see how these populations grow in size while the food keeps on decreasing. Now this is a very simplistic system. Like we didn't assume anything at all about the death rate of the animal. There's so many things that we missed out. But we started out with this, then we move on to something more complicated where I added that the grass keeps growing with a growth rate. After that, I added another point where there's death rate, consumption rate, reproduction rate, and growth rate. So you can keep adding more and more complexity like this. And this is how we were doing it like a system. In some sense, it's system design. There are two parameters that we have. Every parameter affects each other, so it's a nonlinear system in some sense. And you can actually model it, get charts out of it, so you can actually see how the system grows over time. I'm sorry, my computer's lagging now. Let me shut this. Yeah. But Machinations is one tool through which you can do it, and at the same time you can also do it on cadcat, which I'll show you on the side. I'm so sorry, let me share my screen. You can't see anything right now, no?
No, can't, but thank you for showing the machination example as well. It's a really good one. It's a really like simplified one. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I wanted to show this one too, because this is where I actually was learning it. If you all can watch the shared screen again. Also, Stella, do tell me how much time we need to discuss the other stuff. So I'll speed up with this.
You Yes, some more minutes.
Okay, good. Okay. So basically, this is where while I was learning CAD, yeah, it's a predator-prey model. They are perfectly right. This is exactly what I was doing. You start off with a simple equation. So they exactly did the causal relationship. Like you first understand the cause and effect, like make a causal diagram. Then you move on to building a stock and flow diagram where you're saying that hey, there's an animal population and there's food population, and there are flows through them. Like there's something coming in, something going out. Like so, when you understand, when you make your causal loop diagrams, you'll be able to move to a stock and flow diagram. Once you make a stock and flow diagram, now you can actually do the entire system design, and you can. This is CAD's method of doing it, which I found really helpful to actually use this to convert to machination models also. You break it down into system inputs, state update logic, system states, and system metrics. So system states are anything that defines your system. So population and food for my system defines the entire system, and how it changes is will be written in the state update logic. And I can actually simulate it over time. Blah blah blah. You'll be able to see. I'm sorry. Wait. Yeah. So you can see like the food keeps on dropping and population keeps on growing. Now this is a very simplistic model. This doesn't show reality because food isn't like the grass isn't growing again. The population doesn't seem to die. They don't seem to reproduce apart from just eating food. So we can add even more complexity on our models by adding like slowly adding more and more causal loop diagrams, stock and flow diagrams, then move to the these state update logic diagrams, and then you end up building basically systems that are more complicated, which have much more dynamic to it. And eventually, I think we were somewhere here is where you can build like you can like build simulations where you're doing much more than that. You're simulating death rate, reproduction rate, and you're trying to see with different parameters. So in the sense that if the reproduction rate was this high or this low, like what would happen? If the death rate was this high and this low, what would happen? So you can make like these multiple simulations of the system and see how it differs in so you can see like for certain decisions of our parameters like death rate and reproduction rate, you can see a different behavior of the system altogether. And then use this to actually understand how your parameters affect your system, how you can also add randomization. So they're called Monte Carlo runs. All of this can be done. I mean, this is a great tool to learn if anyone wants to pick up modeling properly. But yeah, that's.
Roro, how do you compare and contrast the machination and the CAD? Are they quite similar tools, or do you find them useful in particular circumstances?
Okay, so machinations is way more user friendly. It's clearly because it's drag and drop. You can understand, you can visually see the things that are happening. The only place where I really found issues with machinations was when I wanted to do Monte Carlo runs or parameter sweeps. So both of those are like, Monte Carlo runs are like, if I want to add a random variable, like I want to see that, because I don't know how the system will behave. So I don't know how, let's say, grass will grow in each season. But what I can do is add a random number, multiply it with this thing, and just do 100 runs and see in how many runs does the actual system survive, and how many runs does the animal survive. And if we are doing it for AMMs, we would do like something like with this parameter with different adoption rates, like random adoption rates in different seasons. How does my AMM survive? Maybe something like that. So being able to do that was very hard on machinations for me. While for people without an engineering, modeling, or simulation background, would you recommend completing the CAD before attempting complex modeling in machinations? No, of course, no. I would say do machinations first, for sure. CAD, in fact, even the course itself was a little steep for anyone who doesn't know Python. I mean, you can see the code that's here. Like if you can't read this fluently, it's not beyond anybody, but it's a steep learning curve. Machinations is way easier to do. And you can do parameter sweeps, you can do Monte Carlo runs on machinations, but it's just a lot more effort to get there. While CAD is built to run those experiments on your system. So, and also CAD-CAD 1.0 is coming out apparently like soon, which has a really like, it'll be way more like machinations in its thought process, like of having a system and connecting the system to another system. Like it'll be more visual, even though it'll be code, it'll be more visual in its thought process, if it makes sense. Yeah. Okay, so that also, yeah, this is a state diagram, which also is very important, and I think we'll use it eventually. It's like we are mapping food and population against each other, and we are seeing how the system kind of evolves over time. And if we do it for multiple runs, you can actually see the general trends of what where the system is kind of going to. And these are called attractors. Like this is where the system attracts itself, wherever it is. If you start the system here, it'll still follow the same path and come here. But yeah, that's my presentation.
That was really cool. Thank you, Rohan. It wasn't as long as I anticipated, so thank you for that as well.
No, I can go more in depth because I feel like these tools will be something we should use, even though this our modules won't have this level, like these libraries in Python. Like we spoke to the person who designed module 2, 3, and 4, Octopus, yesterday, and Andrew Penland. He's a mathematician, and he basically mentioned that we won't actually need a lot of complicated Python setup in our systems too. We can actually completely do it on Google Colab, which is you can just open a browser, type Google Colab, and you have the system ready for you. So luckily, we won't have to do any complicated, what do you say, like a version controller, like downloading different kind of kernels, or any, like, it'll be much more simple than we thought initially. So everyone will be comfortable here, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, no. I definitely felt more comfortable when you said that because I was running a little bit late for the session yesterday, and so Rohan updated me a little while after, and I was like, oh, okay, like Google Colab, we can do this.
Yeah.
Feels a little bit more safe for beginners, but I don't know, maybe I'm the only beginner in here right now.
No, I think yeah. People don't. I mean, Python is not something everyone knows, even if they know coding here. From what I understand, yeah.
Also, Rohan, can you share again the slides?
Oh,
please?
my bad. I keep doing this.
You are on duty today.
Yeah. Oopsie.
Thank you.
Wait, is that no? That's showing the wrong screen. That should be.
Did you set a little heart as your favicon for?
Yeah, it is. Oh, it goes away? I'm so sorry. I'm trying to figure this thing out. Yeah. Okay, sorry. Last time. Yeah. So yeah, this is the last slide. Are we here?
I think, there's only the causal relationships and system thinking, right? I think there's not much more. You want to take this one? And then I talk about
the So the causal loop thing, again, you're so much better at this than me. I keep on messing up, yeah. So with causal loop, systems thinking, by the way, also I have an amazing resource for everybody. Like whoever wants to just go, it's like a 30-week program, so we don't need to go through all of it. But I'll send you the link, and there's certain PDFs on that. It's a self-study course by MIT for systems thinking, and they go through really like well in depth of causal thinking, like systems thinking, like stock and flow diagrams, and how do we use it also. So one of the examples actually they'd used in that course was just write down all the things that you can think of in a paragraph. Like for example, if you have a system like an AMM, I'll be like, hey, so there'll be liquidity. We need liquidity because currently the system doesn't have it. And if I have liquidity providers, then it'll be great for this. So you just keep on writing everything that you can think about the system and how it'll be good, and map out all the stakeholders in it. So you already have the nodes for your causal map. And usually, I mean, that approach for me has been really good because my head just keeps on thinking like random thoughts. So if I just write everything down in a free flow, all the names that come out are my nodes, use those nodes and then draw diagrams of who affects whom in the system, like this, with the plus being a positive causal loop, not loop, but causal influence, and negative being a negative causal influence. So fees being high will reduce the trading volume. Fees being high will increase the LP ratio. Or so you can build these causal loops. Yeah.
I was just going to say, when you're explaining that, the way I found it simple is that I just say it has a positive effect or a negative effect.
Yeah. Okay,
It makes it easier to explain. But I just thought I'd.
No, thank you. Yeah. That makes sense. Okay. So yeah, fees have a positive effect on the other nodes. And that way, like once you map this out, converting this to stock and flow diagram is also really easy to do. Once we have a stock and flow diagram using these steps, you can actually use that to now, the way I showed you in the Python, the CAD one, like you can build a differential, I forgot, a differential state update diagram, which was like the one that I had shown, like where you break your system inputs, etc. That for me, that approach was the best to actually go on to actually model it in a system like Python or even machinations. Once I break it down into that third step, then it's much easier for me to actually design it. One other thing that causal loop diagrams actually help us with, which wasn't mentioned, was I feel it really helps with communication. So for example, if I want to, if I build a causal loop diagram and my team member sees it, you'll be able to communicate where you differ in your ideas about how the cause and effect relationships actually go. Because these systems are complex and sometimes we don't understand them well. So building this actually is a great communication tool with your team members also, is what I've realized, yeah. Do we want to move ahead?
Yes,
yeah,
I would love
project.
to, because this is
Yeah.
us. This in a
Yeah.
picture, that is us. Okay, no, Roro, could you put the link to the MIT course into the...
Yeah,
Would
I'll
you
add
be
it.
able to do that? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. I think Kojak has a question. A loop can be reinforcing or balancing. This property is determined based on the amount of negative signs found in the loop. An even or a zero number reinforcing and an odd number balancing, and will therefore be stabilize itself.
So I've read this before, even in the MIT course, this was the thing that you just count, wait, if I go back. If you
Isn't
have
it based on polarity? Isn't it based on even or odd numbers of the polarity of the system, of the causal loop?
Yeah, so if you can find this loop here, and if we say plus, minus, minus, plus, so total it's, wait, what did we have to do? Even or zero numbers?
I think count only the negative numbers, Rohan.
Oh, count only negative signs, yeah. So if it's even, then it's, what did it say? It was positive, right?
If it's an even number of negative polarity, then it's, I think it was, even number was balanced. I don't want to be recorded for saying the wrong thing here, so I'm sorry. But it's in the, I can look it up in my notes here.
I mean, we can think this through. Like, so if this increases...
Yeah, reinforcing.
Yeah.
It'll be reinforcing. If it's even number. Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's even, it's reinforcing, and if it's odd number of negative numbers, it would be balancing.
Yeah, I mean, how does this work? I mean, Rowan, because you seem to have gone into this in depth, because it's not quantified.
Even in control systems, we use stuff like this, but basically, I don't know about this. I mean, I actually didn't know about this hack where you can just count the number of negative ones. But yeah, Stella, you have something?
Also, I think there is a reason why they said, I believe it was in this section where they said they are summarizing this. And then, and I think Octopus referred to a specific article. So I was actually putting that article on my reading list. Or was going to put that on my reading list, because I feel also it's come a little bit short. Like, I wasn't clear on that either.
Oh, I'm opening the MIT self-study thing for everyone. Oops. This has like, okay, not one.
This is
These are the notes.
This is the MIT course, but I was referring to the to the
the module
article
itself.
that he was referring into the learning section, because he said we are summarizing from this article. That's what. What?
Stella is a software we use here, but yeah. Anyway.
I'm like, what? Why am I there? No, I mean in the token engineering learning platform. There is I think it's your second tab or something, right? And then I think it's either 6.6 or 7, where he's saying like we are summarizing from an article. I believe. Oh, go all the way up.
This one, yeah?
No, go even further up. Yeah, identifying causalities. I think this is where it is. But anyhow, I think it's being a summary of something that obviously needs more explaining. So I was also attempting to do more reading on this.
Yeah.
Oh, Kojak is also sharing something. Causal loop construction, the basic. Thank you. Can you include this in our Notion reading list again?
Yeah, this one I'll learn for sure.
Yeah.
Even the MIT self-study, I think I'll learn. There's a lot of readings here, and I think they go through causal diagrams and stuff very well here. Anyway. Yeah.
Are we good? Good to move on to the hero section of this session? Okay.
Yeah, let's go.
Good. So, like I said in the beginning, we figured that applying what we've been learning instantaneously probably is the best idea of manifesting the knowledge that we've gained. So the idea would be the following. Preferably, we would come up with a little proposal, right? Like each one of us who feels like they have a good idea, right? Maybe it's related to visual learners specifically, or it could be something, going into the public domain. So I'm thinking of this in two terms, right? One term is we could manifest our knowledge, so that's our benefit, right? But then also we could be, again, our benefit, I guess, we could be working on something that could potentially go on our portfolio, but then if we do it under the public domain, we have the option to run this with tech, right? With Token Engineering Commons, which I think is a nice, it's kind of closing the loop, right? Because they've been providing this essentially for us, or to us for free. They've been working, I would assume, a lot on this to make it the way it is now, or bring it to the shape it is in now. So this is our way on essentially giving back, right? So we would benefit from this at the same time, but we could also be giving back. So my idea would be, let's draft a proposal until next week. That would be homework, right? Of maybe 1 or 2 slides. Please don't do more, right? It should be a presentation that runs under 2-3 minutes, where like, hey, so this is something I could imagine us to do and apply this knowledge to. And the reasons why I think this is a good idea for us to do, and then, state your reasons, right? Make an argument for it. It's essentially, I mean, I don't want to say elevator pitch because you don't really have to explain in depth what you want to do, but it can be kind of a superficial idea, I think. So we could either use a little bit of the session to brainstorm together, or if you go to the next slide, please.
Yeah, ouch.
Or we just...
Stella, while Rohan's going to the next slide, may I ask a question?
Yes.
Do you have a template that we could use to fill out our ideas so that we can at least be sure that we're all consistent in what we're trying to articulate?
Aww. Yeah, I can make you a template. Sure.
Or I mean, like, just for everybody, like, if other...
structure, yeah.
Yeah, if don't make it just for me, but if others feel that it would be helpful, yeah, I think that would be great.
Like 3 or 4 slides or 5 slides where we go through the...
No 5 slides. Forget it.
Okay.
You know how many times I need to call back Rohan because he's like, hey, we could add 3 more slides. I'm like, no, we're trying to cut down on the slides.
We're here, Rohan. That's more.
No, you two. You're gonna storm us. You're gonna flood us with like 12 slides or shit. No. Like, but I will make that. Sounds fair. Yeah. I will make us a little a structure that we can work around, and yeah, hopefully you guys can work.
And Stella, I could help contribute there with you. Like,
Yeah.
can I give
Yeah.
you some ideas and stuff?
That'd be great. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, let's do this together.
I already have an idea. I mean, I just thought of it when you said it, but I felt like for Token Engineering Academy, I felt like the exams are a problem for me. Like, I feel like, I mean, we all have this issue where it feels like it's very rote learned, and it feels like they're just checking whether we've read it in the right way. And sometimes both of the answers seem kind of similar, and it doesn't feel like it's testing my knowledge. It feels like it's testing whether I read something or not. One way to change that, I thought, would be like you can have a peer grading system where maybe you could have some questions would be subjective, and you write out what you think about what you've learned or something, and other people grade it, and some kind of system in which so that it's sustainable in the sense that in order to get your grade for that particular exam, you need to review two other students or something like that. And you can actually create a self-sustaining loop where like students peer review each other and can comment on each other's work and talk to each other. I don't know. This was a thought I had, and maybe it could improve the feeling of giving exams here. Who knows? Yeah.
Can I add a point? Is my voice clear?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What I thought was it may be Stella was saying, real life.
Your voice is getting cut. I can't hear you. Can everyone hear him?
No, he faded out.
No,
Yeah. But yeah, that was kind of my idea, at least. I'm thinking to flesh it out over the week, maybe, because it's some kind of like incentive structure for students to grade each other, but at the same time, there'll be a discussion going on. They'll also probably make the exams more. It'll maybe check people's knowledge more. Who knows? We can think of a better way. Anyone has any points here?
Benchmark it against projects.
Kujak, your voice
Benchmark against projects. Benchmark against projects.
benchmark negates project.
Benchmark against. Test your knowledge against a project.
Okay.
So it's kind of like I was thinking the same thing. I was like, have a case study, right? And sort of have individuals sort of, answer questions based on what they think on the case study. And the case study can be very, it can be multifaceted. Therefore, there's no right or wrong, but it's really to show how to really apply different forms of thinking on particular labs.
Yeah. That would be very interesting. That makes sense.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how we'll apply the stuff we learned. Yeah, maybe we can, because we can build stakeholders. We can also think of attack vectors, because again, is there some way to game this? What if what if there's a system where you can review anybody's questions and then you just make 2-3 IDs and keep on reviewing your own, or maybe, I don't know.
Oh, really cool, Rohan. I was just thinking about this. What if, I have I get moments of reflection between my kids screaming, right?
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, upon some of the reflections, I have questions in the back of my mind. What if we were able to curate some of those questions that are based off of our reflections on the syllabus or the material? And I think that provides more of what I like to think of as experiential learning, right? So now you're using my frame of reference on how I consumed the information to now pose a reflection or a question back to my peers. I don't know. That's a pretty far out. I don't know if it's a far out idea or not, but I thought it was pretty interesting.
No, but what I like about all of this is I think we'll be giving back to the Token Engineering Academy in some way. And also, it makes sense for Token Engineering Academy to have some kind of tokenized way of solving the problem for exams here. Like, I mean, not exactly tokenized, but we are understanding incentive structures. We are designing a very new kind of system to do this. I feel like that'll be a brilliant way to actually test our knowledge if we understand how these things work.
But the idea doesn't have to be like. Are we saying that the idea has to be something directly benefiting TEA? I thought it was the fact that whatever we do, whatever ideas we come up with, we're giving back to TE because we're doing it under the public forum, right? Or does it have to? Does it have to be a direct linkage, Ron?
No. Of course not.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So it can be any idea, but as like we're doing it in the public forum so that we're advocating and showcasing the power of TEA, right? On the ideas that we come up with. Okay.
I think I just would love for us specifically, right? Because I think we're a pretty good group to do that, to kind of close the loop, right? I think that, like, in which way ever, it doesn't have to be. I have to say I like the T token idea, although I think T token already exists, but just not for token engineering. So I like that idea, but I also like the idea of applying this to a case study. Like, I think this is also, it's a very good form of learning, because I mean the real reason of doing this, while additionally wanting to close the loop, is definitely for us to really manifest what we've been gaining in knowledge. Because the way I've been learning Python, just telling you guys, I think I showed it to you before, is with this book, Learning Python in a Smarter Way, where you have the book and you have the chapters, but then every chapter has an online learning platform where you get to run, I think, 12 different examples of how to apply this, and then whenever you get one wrong, you essentially have to start from the beginning. So I think it's a really smart way of learning Python for people like me. So yeah, I just thought we could do this. Wait, what is this ratio? I love to see token creation and supporting token economy versus another AMM example. Okay, I understand that as well. Dog fooding tea. I don't know what's dog fooding tea, Kojak. What's that?
Dog fooding means you eat what you create.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh, that's
okay,
nice.
So okay, so in fact, I've given a very detailed proposal it's called the commoner strategy. So it's token engineering has got now one token. It's called TEC token. What I'm suggesting is a utility token, which for the sake and like like say you and Roro and Stella, they are doing a wonderful job, and I feel like rewarding them. Now I have some airdrop tokens. I give it to, say, you both or anybody else who's helping out. So that's kind of, so there are kind of 3 active proposals now. Let's see what happens.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, yeah, we will hit you up, starter, like when we are building the template. Thanks for coming, like what do you say, supporting us. Yeah.
All good. Thank you. Yeah, same here.
You're muted, starter.
Yeah, I'm like, same here. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Okay, I think if you guys are good with this, we will close the session here. Also because I'm sorry, like, I love you guys, but I really want to get to the Blender conference.
Oh yeah.
If I'm being super honest.
It's so awesome that you're doing this, by the way, Stella. The fact that you put so much effort to make the slides also, and also that in the middle of the conference you're taking the session. Like, we really should thank you.
Big shout out.
Yeah, big shout out to Stella.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
I really appreciate this. Thank you for recognizing that.
Yeah. And also a great idea with the I think we all learn better when we do things. So I think coming up with a project together will be really fun. We should think of maybe a more complicated one, so that all of our skill sets could also be used. But I don't know, like, it all depends on what we come up with completely.
Start small. Start very small.
Start small, okay.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Start small and then keep iterating until we find the unique core, because now I got it. I got what the unique core is. Okay, yeah, no, sounds good to me. I think I will make a little side group, I believe, with Rohan and Strada to come up with a good template over the weekend. Or let's say you will have this on Tuesday, okay? Let's not overstretch.
Yeah.
And and then we take it from there. Is that okay?
Yeah.
And also, just wanted to quickly say, welcome Burger House. Burger House is a Web3 friend of mine, and he's been joining on a whim, which I think is super nice. I don't know. I don't think he knew what he was getting himself into. Hi, welcome.
Thank you. No idea. Just that's life, really, isn't it? Wander into any like-minded group like this and just sit and listen for a while.
Yeah. I love it.
I love that you keep doing this. Like sometimes he just pops in, and it's really nice always to have you around. So just keep popping in, and if you want to know more, I'm happy to elaborate a little bit later today.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks. Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining. Yeah.
Yeah, and also Elusha, we haven't really heard from you. How are you feeling today? How was it for you to get through? Because this was quite a massive amount of knowledge. I feel like even for me, it was a little bit heavy. Elusha, are you there? Oh, maybe she cannot. I'm not sure. Maybe she cannot.
Yeah.
Sorry, my mic was muted with the hardware button. Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry, I'm struggling to keep up with it all outside of work. And so I've just finished module 1 and now I'm starting on module 2, but I still like to attend the sessions just to get an idea of what to expect as it's coming up. But I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you for joining, and also thank you for sticking your mind to this and just be like, okay, I might not understand everything, and you heard us, right? All of us are not understanding just everything. So just because we're a little bit further in doesn't mean we're getting this at all. And this is also one of the main reasons we thought it would be a good idea to start working on a practical example, so we can really crack down on how to apply this knowledge. Because I feel that's really a part that's essentially missing. And I think this is a great way of how the study groups can evolve, in the sense of making this more interactive and less feeling like this teacher-student sessions, even though we're not even teachers and we're still figuring stuff out. So I think this is a good way of turning this around, essentially. Also, what's happening in the chat? Tuesday's fine. Thank you so much. Thank you. Anyone know if the Academy has updated the exam and corrected feedback systems? I think they're working on it. They haven't yet implemented everything, I think. Also, sorry guys, I'm actually such a loser. In the new system, I would not have passed the test. So, but honestly, I knew the one question that I got wrong, so I could just redo it. I was thinking of doing that, actually. I think I should redo it once I get home. We're all winners in the end. I agree with you. They have changed questions and reduced the number of them as well. First exam is 25 questions. Also, we have requested again yesterday during the session with Octopus to get the PDFs, so we can prepare really for the exam and, go through the readings again, through our notes, and have a higher chance of actually, getting this done in a positive way. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to
yeah, I think module 1 was great because we could discuss the questions. It really helped us clear it more seamlessly. Yeah. Also, yeah, so by next week, I think I'm going to do the exam. If others want to do it, we'll discuss at the end how our results were. But yeah.
I feel like end of next week I could join you in that. I think when I'm at my parents' place and have a little bit more calmness around me, I can do that. But before, I don't think so. Also, I want to go one more time through, I would say 3 sections. 3 sections I think I have to read again. Yeah. Okay, guys.
And yeah, we're done with this, yeah.
It was so good.
Yeah, this is great. I'm glad everyone liked the idea. If y'all don't like the idea of doing a project, put your thoughts out there too.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Oh, it's really a great idea. I have to repeat it, and especially, to do stuff, right? To use the knowledge and try to translate it into an idea. So really, just go ahead. I'm thrilled about it. Thanks so much once again.
Thank you.
I'm glad you're so excited about it. Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye, guys.
All right. Bye, guys. Thanks for coming.
Thank
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.